So I'm very humbled to bring up Joe Edwards and his team from U.S. Treasury to talk about some of the innovating things they're doing. Welcome, Joe. And he's also a great saxophone player as well. So, did you bring your sax?
I did not.
All right, next time.
Did you bring your guitar?
Next time.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody.
You need that.
Thanks. I'm joined here by LaShawn, Lucas, and Jillian Eddy. We did just get a bot notification that we're the last session before lunch, and everybody's looking at their phone to check the agenda to see how quickly you all can eat. So we're going to be as quick as possible. But we're honored to be with you today. A lot of people have talked about being able to explore UiPath online just through some of the free trials that are available. We're here to talk about our R&D lab and how we've sort of formalized the process of trying out new IT. Getting thanks. All right, we might need to formalize the process of using remotes next time. So our Incubator is a tool within Treasury that lets us explore new technology. Today we're going to give a little bit of background on the Incubator, tell you about some of the projects we've done over the last few years. We'll have a great demo by Jillian and LaShawn, talk through some of the lessons learned if you're a federal agency and want to explore a similar R&D lab. We'll also give you a little bit of information on what's next for our Incubator in 2018. So in the first 4 years, when I first came on board in Treasury out of grad school, our assistant commissioner had this vision for a place where employees could go to explore new ideas in an unfettered environment. They didn't have to worry about pursuing an ATO or going through legal or finding a laptop that you could use. They were just allowed to create in an environment that was separate from their day job. They're still technically responsible for all their day job responsibilities, but it was a place to explore. So that's what we've done since 2014. Our incubator has housed a host of folks, both internal and external to the Bureau. So we've had participants ranging from US Bank, Wells Fargo, Citi, AgileX, Deloitte's helped us out greatly in the most recent round. We've worked with startups, we've worked with various local universities, Go Terps, University of Maryland, MasterCard, Apple, et cetera. It really provides us a place to experiment around technology over the course of 3 months and see what we can create. And I'm happy to announce, last year we won the Gold Award from the Treasury and Risk magazine for technology excellence, and we actually beat out Microsoft and Toyota, which I never thought I'd be able to say. So I joke with my brother who loves Xbox that we're beating him out now because they're Microsoft, and I'm always team PS4. So we have that one small bit of bragging right. As we go to the next slide, here are some of the projects that we've done over the course of the last few years. Our first round, we literally had no mobile presence within our area of Treasury, so it was just to build a mobile app that could process transactions. So that's what we did. It's actually now the basis for a lot of our production efforts in the mobile realm, and I'm actually the program manager for the mobile apps that we have out there today. In the second round, we basically took the concept of the newer terminals that are coming out on the market. I'm sure you have seen at like Whole Foods or Trader Joe's, you can use your phone to make a payment. We were seeking to do the same thing within government to enable people to transact wherever they are, but we didn't want them to have to carry around a terminal. So we basically built a terminal functionality into a Samsung Galaxy. So that was another fun project. Round 3, we worked with a startup in Cincinnati that actually used this high frequency sound to send information, and we built a ticketing solution using that. Round 4, we worked with Apple to explore things we could do with Apple Wallet to enable people to get notifications when they have a bill due, and then hopefully ease payment as they go through it. What we're really excited about to talk about today, in our Incubator Round 5, we proposed a cross-functional enterprise round that would be able to not only explore use cases associated with collections, which is the assistant commissioner area I'm a part of, but also accounting, debt, franchise, payments, et cetera. As I'm sure many of your agencies are in the same boat, we have a ton of different use cases across the enterprise, and we didn't want to limit our R&D to just one assistant commissioner area. So we proposed this in April of 2017, and we brought it to life over the course of the last year or so. Participants range from folks from RCM, Revenue Collections Management, so LaShawn is from RCM with me, Fiscal Accounting, where Jillian's from, Wholesale Security Services, as well as some of our government securities regulation staff. We were also supported by the Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland, Deloitte, again, it did an amazing job helping us through this round, JP Morgan Chase, University of Maryland College Park, again, go Terps, and US Bank. So our challenge for this round, our assistant commissioner basically said, I want you to build something with robots. And we had no idea what that could be. So at first we thought it was physical robots, and we were worried that it might be something like the suicidal robot that you might have seen in DC that accidentally went into the water, or if it was like a chat bot, if they wanted us to send scam emails, we weren't sure what they were looking for. And we happened to be talking to Deloitte around the same time, and they were telling us about this robotic process automation revolution that was happening within government. And it was literally perfect timing because through RPA and through investigations of chatbots, we were able to do some really interesting projects this round. And we weren't limited to just the one project as we normally do. There were so many great ideas around RPA and chatbots that we actually had 4 separate teams within the Incubator complete prototypes over the course of 3 months. So we're joined here by one team today, but there were 3 other great prototypes that we were able to work through using RPA and chatbots. For agencies that are wondering how much this might take, it was 90 hours in on-site meetings for all of us and up to 80 hours of participants' own time. Jillian can give a lot of great examples from that. We went through 31 different minute documents. There were nearly 30,000 words in those minute documents. We met with a host of different folks, so our Office of Financial Innovation and Transformation. As others have mentioned, the Federal Robotics and Cognitive Consortium has been great and a fantastic resource. I would urge you to join it if you're in the federal space and looking to learn more about RPA. Again, Deloitte, Automation Anywhere, Pega, UiPath, NextIT, Redwood, Blue Prism. All of these folks have been very helpful for us to experiment, again, in a non-traditional governance setting. You don't have to worry about the ATO process. We literally just set up off-network laptops, built up demo environments, and said, what could we build over the course of 3 months? And speaking of building things over the course of 3 months, again, I'm joined by a fantastic team here, and Jillian and LaShawn, and they're going to tell you a little bit more about what they built.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm LaShawn Lucas. I was on the morning duties team with Jillian and Joe Lynch, who's not here, but the mastermind behind all of the work. We sat down and we brainstormed in the incubator, as Joe pointed out, and we were just talking through different ideas of what we could do. Oh, sorry. And so Jillian started telling us about morning duties that they have to perform every morning in fiscal accounting. It's the service desk branch that she works for, and the report serves as a daily check for setup verification and account auditing. And we thought it would be perfect because it's a rule-based documented process. It takes about 1,100 man hours every year to perform. They use a GS7 who does the actual work. They do a GS9 who's just like a junior trainee who does the training, the oversight, a little oversight, and then they use a senior person who does all of the oversight and looks over policy changes. They use several different systems, spreadsheets, and folders. And so we just thought it would just be perfect for this incubator project. So they run the report daily. They use 16 different worksheets. If there's data, they send out an email. They have to also go into Prism and Oracle. They have to save the email into a folder, name it, and then a senior person has to check that report every day, every last one of them. And so when someone also performs this job, they can't do anything else. This is all they can do. They can't answer the phone. They can't do anything. And so it's very important that everything is correct. Also, the manual process has a 3% error rate, but with the bots, there would probably be no errors. So now we can turn things over to Jillian and watch the video of the actual project.
Before we kick off the video, I just wanted to explain, because this was for a prototype, we had an off-the-network laptop, so we did a mock version of our financial and procurement systems. So it didn't actually have to log in the system. So the process would look a little different if it had a login and whatnot. So we're going to go ahead and kick off the video. One of the other teams, they had their demo that actually slowed down and showed how they built the RPA, and actually slowed down the video to show the bot work. We took a different approach and let it run real time. So what you're going to see on our video is a lot of flashing screens, but we really wanted to emphasize just how efficient it is. So if you can imagine when you're watching the screens flash and you're not going to be able to see what's going on, just imagine how slow that would be if a human was actually sitting there having to click through all those steps. So we can go ahead and kick off the video. So right here, we just kicked off our bot, and the very first worksheet that it's running through is showing if users had 5 or more invalid logins. So we start our process by running a report that shows that there was 3 users that had 5 or more invalid attempts. We had to go ahead and send an email to those users and state the date that they took that invalid attempt and have them contact us if it wasn't them. So this is just an example of some type of security that we have to do for our checks, because we are doing business with different government agencies. We're doing their administrative work. So we're doing the admin work of the user setup and the setup like LaShawn explained earlier. So in that time that it took me to explain, it's already running through our second process. And you can see it's running very quickly. And in this one, we had 3 users that they haven't logged in 90 days, so we had to take away their access. So in our mock version of Oracle, it went in there and took away the access. And here's our PDF documentation showing which users they were, the roles that had to be taken away, and then we created that PDF and saved it to our shared drive. So all the examples that you're going to see are very similar. For our prototype, we only mapped out 6 of the 16 processes. We actually went with UiPath, kind of by trial and error. We tried a couple of the other softwares, or attempted to. This was the first one that we successfully downloaded on our off-the-network laptop, and we had I think it was a 6-week free trial. So once we got something that worked, because that was actually our biggest hang-up to get started, so once we had something that worked, we ran with it. And the other interesting thing about this process, while it's going to continue running through our other worksheets, is that we actually took someone from my staff who was not initially part of this incubator process, and he coded all of this out. So when we came together on this incubator, I personally thought we were going to have some programmers as part of this team. I didn't realize it was, here's what you're going to go do, find software, find a way to figure it out, and make a prototype. So that was, and all your other duties. So this is one of those other duties as assigned tasks. So at the same time that I was on this team, we upgraded our procurement system, and with any upgrade, there's always a couple hiccups. And I'm in charge of the service desk branch. So I actually was not able to work on this as I originally intended, and so I had one of my accounting technicians, so my entry-level position, who's technically bent, but didn't really have a background in any programming. He never touched any coding and whatnot, but like I said, he had an interest in making things efficient. I cleared his schedule and gave him 2 weeks to telework and focus on this. So he was able to map out everything that you're watching on this video in a 2 weeks time period with absolutely no one to ask any questions of. So he used the tutorials from UiPath, and he YouTubed a lot of information, and that's how he was able to code all of this out. So we actually didn't code any of this, we're just presenting it. But I think it was a good example to show that it didn't have to be someone that had that coding experience. I mean, like I said, he typically would answer phone calls and emails on my service desk branch. And after he was done with it all, he kind of fessed up that after 2 days, he almost threw in the towel and said, I don't think I'm right for this challenge, because he was kind of having some struggles getting started. But then he had one small win of he was able to get the bot to send an email. Then he tackled the next step. And slowly, he kept on having those small wins before he was able to program out these 6 worksheets. We didn't do the full 16 just from a time constraint, because this was a free download on an off-network laptop, and it's long gone. This was almost a year ago that we were working on this. So, like I said, in those 2 weeks, we were able to demo this out and get it to show all of this. And this presentation is the one that will never go away. We keep on getting asked, so we've showed it to the executives, we've showed it, I had to show it to everyone in fiscal accounting, our managers, our supervisors, the individual staff. So this is something that is really gaining a lot of attention. And like I said, I think it kind of really helped that I was able to give it to an accounting technician, and they were able to do this with, like I said, not a single person with our office. I'm in Parkersburg, West Virginia, had ever worked with RPAs or even really heard of it. So we were able to get this output. So the next, so some of the challenges and next steps is the engagement, showing people that it's not a threat, but a tool just to help free up their time to do more value-added work, just like you've been hearing all day. Software, purchasing the software and going through security, that is definitely the biggest hurdle. So we didn't have to deal with that in our prototype because we're in the off-the-network laptop. And I think Joe's going to talk about some of the other next step that's going on. But we didn't have to deal with a lot of that. We kind of had that freedom to just play around with that free download. And procedures, some of the things when we're working through, we realized, oh, maybe we can make our spreadsheets a little better, or we can change some of our processes to make it more friendly to an RPA. Because right now, when you have a human working through it, you can kind of think through and make some decisions, but coding it out, we did realize we had to change some of our procedures or maybe split one of the worksheets up. And obviously training, because you need resources to build and manage bots. I think that's all I have.
So very briefly, I've mentioned that we had 3 other teams here, and they all had spectacular projects too. So just in case they're of interest to anyone, we also had a team that built chatbots for federal websites. And this connects to RPA potentially by allowing folks who type in something through chat, just like we saw in the last presentation, and have it kick off some sort of RPA process. So very quickly, they leveraged API.ai, a free tool from Google. They built out a great chatbot for one of our websites, Treasury Direct. Again, this was in a completely non-production environment, so we were just able to prove that it works and to show our IT folks without, again, the burden of ATO or legal. I'm sure many of you all are familiar with the hurdles that sometimes go along with working with the IT staff. We've since gone through recommendations and opportunities. There's a wide variety of use cases for chatbots, especially when they're connected to RPA. We're continuing to explore those. We also had a group that when they were told that RPA is like XML or macros in Excel on steroids. So they took that guidance and they actually built out a great macro process that was able to save a great amount of time for the team that did a reconciliation. We had one other team that used UiPath for an activities list, and they actually built out everything, again, like Jillian's example, using the training on UiPath, and just the fact that there was a demo available really went a long way compared to some of the other tools we tried to use. Very quickly, if you're looking to start up this type of R&D lab within your agency, we found that there's an importance of having a dedicated facilitator and development resources, like Jillian mentioned. In some iterations, we've had dedicated developers, and others, us as business folks have basically been tasked with going about it, and it's worked out okay so far. But I think there's an importance of having dedicated facilitation and development resources. Secondly, this can be a remote project. As Jillian mentioned, she's in Parkersburg. We're based out of Maryland, LaShawn and I. But reserve space is useful at times, so we would all get together in our Hyattsville, Maryland location a couple times over the course of the 3 months. But this was largely remote. And again, the team did a great job bringing this to fruition. There are 2-week projects, and then there are 3-month projects, and they both have their place. As we've built this process up over the last few years, we've had a wide backlog accumulate. And again, this is in addition to our day job. So we're all working on different things for the majority of our time. But it's nice to have that backlog to be able to explore different projects as they come up. Passing off a successful prototype to a production business area sometimes results in blurry roles and responsibilities. I know this firsthand from our first Incubator iteration. Again, it was on mobile apps. And it was successful, and the downside of success is that people are then like, okay, now you all can keep working on it. So it's a plus and the minus that we develop the prototypes and there's not always a firm handoff into production. And as is currently the case, like Jillian was saying, we're on a road tour for Incubator 5, but we're also being asked to get ready for Incubator 6. So sometimes passing off the responsibilities can be a little difficult. It's okay to say an idea isn't ready for production. We've had a couple prototypes that the technology was just too new. We got everything working perfectly on our end, but when we did talk with our IT folks, they said, this might be something to explore in a couple years. And then finally, brainstorming is a vital component of our incubator sessions, but it helps to frame it with a goal. And again, in this case, it was develop something around robotics. Our management likes to leave it fairly open-ended, but as you've seen today, the open-ended can definitely work too. So again, we got the notification from the bot that everybody's hungry, including myself. I hope you haven't hurt my stomach. So I'll ask if there are any questions, but I don't want to hold things up any further.